It is live.
Today, my man, we are talking about how to create certainty in an uncertain world. Sounds good for you?
Sounds good for me.
Let's now, you and I had this conversation a couple days ago. We were talking on the phone, and rather than going huge big picture, because I mean we can have a Oprah Winfrey special talking about creating certainty in an uncertain world, especially given the unforeseen the tragic events that happened this past weekend. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about a little. Let's have a little bit more of a focus about what can we do. How can we take this topic and apply it to the people in this group that are entrepreneurial minded. They're people that want to, they either have a business, they have a coaching business, a speaking business, is a service based business, or maybe they are rising stars or leaders within their company. So let's keep this a little bit business minded. And how can we create certainty in an uncertain business world? Because let's face it, a lot of things, there's a lot of variables out there, and we don't ever know what's really going to happen,
Mhm.
especially when you are a business owner. Like, where are my clients coming from next month? Am I going to have enough money to pay the rent? And do I have enough income? Am I going to make enough sales? Or, you know, anything in those lines. I mean, that's enough to create a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unrest, a lot of frustration and overwhelm, and all those negative things that come with it. So, my man, I know that you are the king of mindset and all things that come with it. You've got strategies galore. I see some awesome things behind you on the whiteboard. So where do you want to jump in to creating certainty in an uncertain world?
Well, I mean, even to clarify, Rich, I think that those two dynamics aren't mutually exclusive
Hmm.
because events that happen in the community or in a culture or in a systemology are going to affect the not only the culture that you are in
Hmm.
or the objective you, your body, how you react to things, but also that internal part of you as well, that I, that who am I?
Hmm.
For an example, I had moved back in 2001. I had moved to Houston
Hmm.
to get a job, and Tuesday morning I got up to go and start looking for a job, and the Twin Towers came down.
Oh, okay.
So that really affected my ability of what I was thinking about in order to get a job because the world did stop for a brief time in the United States.
Hmm.
And people looked at me and they're like, "Why are you out here trying to get a job? Don't you know what just happened?"
Hmm.
And I was like, "Yes, but I still need a job."
Hmm.
So sometimes, as business people, as entrepreneurs, you're going to come up against external things that cause you to doubt the certainty that you have in yourself.
Hmm.
So when we're talking about certainty, just in a business sense, certainty is that thing that gives you the ability to, and it also gives you the ability to focus. If you are certain about your goals and about the things that you want to do, then you have that ability to focus. If you're
Hmm.
not certain, then your focus can start going all over the place. You start scattershotting because you start second guessing what your clarity is,
Hmm.
right? So, in that sense, I would say we do have to pay attention to what goes on outside of us because it will affect the way that people interact with us. You
Hmm.
know, unfortunately, as entrepreneurs, they're always saying you're alone, you're alone, you're alone. Well, you're not
Hmm.
because the other side of you are your customers, your clients, those people that you service. So
Hmm.
you have to be aware of the things that are affecting them
Hmm.
so that you can help reel in their focus, their clarity, and
Hmm.
create certainty for them that the outside world is not affecting you.
Cool. Now, Lawrence, in a moment, I'm going to ask you how to create clarity. Like, what is a great exercise to create clarity? So hopefully you have something for us. But before that, just perspective. This doesn't have to go into a sidebar conversation, but I was just talking with a group of teenagers today. You know, I work with teens as well, and we were talking about the mass shootings, and we were talking about it actually became a whole history lesson of tragic events and things like that. And I started talking about Columbine and we even started talking about the World Trade Center, and it was crazy to listen to these teens who weren't even alive when the World Trade Centers were hit, when 9/11 happened. I mean, these kids have grown up hearing about it. And one of the kids even said, oh, yeah, we always have that moment of silence. And I said, but you're going to have that moment of silence for the rest of your life. And for those of us that were alive and, alive for that, we'll always remember where we were at that time. But these kids, it's just a page in a history book, it's something that their parents and some older siblings might know about, but yeah, crazy perspective, isn't it?
Well, I think that's actually very relevant to what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm,
Perspective is what it is really all about.
mm-hmm,
So if we're living in a world where something happens that affects you and also affects the way that you continue to think about things, it's going to have a greater impact on you. Whereas these students who just hear stories of something
mm-hmm.
that you concretely relate, it's a different perspective. And that different perspective is the thing that we need to be able to do to get ourselves back into the certainty of what our job is, what our desire is, what our dreams are. We can't let the outside perspective and the past dictate how we respond in certainty to our own focus, our own clarity, and our own operation of what we're creating for ourselves and our clients in the world.
Awesome. Now, let's go back to what I was saying. What do you have for us that the people watching right now, or even the people that are going to watch the replay of this, if they're not clear on what it is that they want, whether we're talking about a business goal, whether we're talking about like that dream that's there, but it's just kind of foggy, it's unclear right now, it's got that haze over it. What kind of an exercise do you have that we can gain that clarity? And I know the two upstanding gentlemen that wrote a book about this. So maybe you have something from the book, or maybe, just another exercise that you like doing with your clients. So what do you have for us that we can gain that clarity with what it is that we want?
Okay. Oh, first of all, welcome, Art. Good to see you here.
Hey, Art.
Well, what I would do, I think, and this goes back to a lot of stuff that I always talk about, and I don't want to belabor the point about meditation, but the reason that we become uncertain is because of the chatter that's in our brain. There's a chaos that's there all the time, a cacophony of noise, a din that can get so loud that it throws us off the path that we're on. So we need to find a way to kind of calm that, to end the chatter, to stop the confusion. It's like when I ask you, Rich, hey, what was the name of that heavy metal band guitar player back in the 80s? And you're like, oh, I have it. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of my tongue. And you can't think about it. And you can't think about it. It's because at that moment, there is a chaos of activity going on in your brain trying to figure out that one question, that answer to that one question. And as you separate yourself from that, as you tend to forget about it, perhaps your mind becomes a little more still, or perhaps you become a little less chaotic. And at some point, your mind will become so still that you'll slip into that space where all those answers do exist. And then you sit up and you say, oh my God, it was Slash. That's who I was thinking of. And it pops into the front of your consciousness just like that. So one of the exercises, and we did talk about this in the book, but not quite so succinctly.
Okay.
just taking a pause.
Hmm.
Just a pause through your day. When you find that you're on the computer and you're working and you're just you're getting all these thoughts are coming. I just more thoughts and I can't stop. That's when you need to take a pause. A pause can be something as simple as a few deep breaths, breathing in through your nose slowly. Adjusting your gaze to 20% above the horizon.
Hmm.
Kind of our superhero pose, but at your desk for a moment. So you
Hmm.
don't necessarily have to take that 120 seconds out of your day because that's a lot of seconds. You can just take a matter of 10 seconds. Take a pause. And that pause can be something simple as getting in touch with your body. How many times have we taken a pause and just felt our heartbeat? Just simply the act of slowing down enough to feel your heartbeat slows your heartbeat down,
Hmm.
stops the cortisol production in your system, which stops the anxiety producing stuff, which releases dopamine and gives you the opportunity to get back on track. So
Hmm.
when you find that you're in that state of overwhelm where there's just all the stuff going on, what do they call it? Monkey mind when people are trying to meditate. Um, take a pause.
Hmm.
Whatever it is for you, whatever works for you is the exact perfect right thing for you. It doesn't have to be the thing that Rich does or the thing that Lawrence does or the thing that Art does. It's just what you do. And I think that's important in helping us create certainty in ourselves.
Hmm.
Because the moment that we put ourselves on the outside, things become very uncertain because we get pulled in so many different directions. So being able to make that pause and slow down for a moment gives you
Hmm.
the opportunity to recenter yourself and be certain about whatever that activity is, whatever it is that thought that you have, whatever viewpoint of the world that you hold, you can have it stabilized again. And you can do that over and over and over again
Hmm.
until you are aware that, no, this is where I'm certain. Just because this happened, it doesn't change who I am internally. I don't have to be somebody who reacts to everything.
Hmm.
How does that sound?
Sounds good. Now, can you see Lucas? Lucas had a
Oh,
question.
yeah. How do you remember to pause? Hey, Lucas, good to see you. And Francesca, welcome. Um, People do a variety of things. If you have a Fitbit, you can set it so that it vibrates every 20 minutes, every 40 minutes. You can set an alarm on your watch. Everybody has a smartphone. You can set a couple of things that way. There are a couple of apps that are free that will alert you during the day that it's time to take a breath, time
Hmm.
to pause. I think there's one called Calm that does, I think has that activity. There's also you can put something on your wrist, and you find yourself getting agitated. And I know that a lot of people used to do this. They'd put a rubber band
Uh-huh.
on their wrist and give it a smack, that shocks your body a little bit and physically makes you take a pause.
Uh-huh.
So if you're like me and you do things like forget to eat and you don't know what time it is because you're doing stuff, um, maybe use technology to actually help us
Hmm.
instead of distract us all the time. So there are a bunch of different ways like that. I think that there's so many opportunities for us to utilize our smartphones in a smart way
Hmm.
that pay attention when it goes off because set a tone that makes you feel good. For you, I'm sure it's something from The Lion King, and when that goes off, then all right, I need to take a break. I need to take a moment to pause and be certain about what I'm doing at this point.
Hmm.
How's that, Lucas?
Does that work for you, Lucas? I couldn't help but notice, are those the mala beads that we got at Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, the black ones are. There we go. Of course, I lost the little ladle and stuff that was on the end of it, but
I actually had to make a new one because the elastic was on its like last little fiber, so I had to like reconstruct it. I took them all off and did my little Boy Scout, did the whole knot thing, and I got him back again. That monk that we met outside of Washington D.C. and the Smithsonian would be proud of me that I was able to make it just as good as he did. So
very good. Oh, just as good, huh?
just as good.
How certain are you of that?
Pretty certain. Pretty
Excellent.
certain. Cool, man. Oh, it looks like Oksana's in here. I didn't see her pop up, but it looked like she shot up a little like. So we got her in there. We got some more people. And that's how I'm noticing people popping in here is by when they're shooting up the likes or the hearts and stuff like that,
Okay.
noticing their little icon. So Facebook isn't telling us who's been popping in. So if you're in here, shoot us a like or throw a comment in there or whatever, and
And
that way we
Melissa?
know that you're in here. What's that?
Hello to Melissa. Melissa Rose as well.
Ah, cool. I
Great.
didn't get that alert. I'm not getting these alerts for some reason. But cool. So all right, so we have clarity. We know how to do that. We know how to reduce the monkey mind. We know how to reduce the chatter. What about focus, man? How important is focus in creating certainty?
I think it goes hand in hand with clarity.
Hmm.
Focus creates certainty in that it reaffirms for you that what you're doing is the correct thing to do.
Hmm.
Focus is the thing that will help you drive your action,
Hmm.
and it is the thing that helps you believe your action. So if you have a focus on an action, that means you believe that the action is going to lead you to something. And so that's a feedback loop
Hmm.
that then allows you to continue to focus. So with focus, you always want to create some kind of a loop that is going to feed back to then increase the power of this loop again. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Absolutely.
So, I don't know, can you even see that? Probably not.
Yeah,
I
well, we knew you were drawing something back there.
was drawing a circle. In systems thinking, um, a feedback loop is also a reinforcing loop.
Hmm.
So if you create a behavior and that behavior reinforces the next behavior,
Hmm.
and you continue through with that behavior and it reinforces the next behavior, you have a reinforcing loop.
Hmm.
So focus can help you stay on track. And that's why I think it's also important to even take that pause when you're focused on activity. You know,
Hmm.
sometimes we can get into an activity. Whoever has been on Instagram and wound up watching some video about some kid in Mumbai on a scooter. And you're like, how did I get here? Because at some point you lost your focus,
Hmm.
right?
Sure, it
And so,
happens to everybody. Go on for one little thing to check a notification or check a message, and then 2 hours later, you're like, where did the time go?
you know, my Instagram feed is full of stuff in some language that I have no idea what it is.
Hmm.
Because at some point I got drugged down a rabbit hole watching people make sandals out of some kind of food thing. I'm not sure what was going on. But it's because we're not paying attention to what we're focusing on.
Hmm.
So, you know, we've created that goal, we've put that out in the future, we've left it alone, and now we're going to focus on the steps that we have to do to get there. Use that focus to calibrate what you're doing. So if you notice while you're focusing on this that you're going somewhere else, just check it. It might be a good way to calibrate. It might
Hmm.
tell you that your original thought was incorrect,
Hmm.
but you have to pay attention to what happens in those moments of focus, in that activity. Because
Hmm.
activity for activity's sake doesn't get you anywhere.
Hmm.
And I know that I've been a victim of activity for activity's sake, many times. So being able to stop even when you set your watch or you set your phone on something, see what your focus is about. Just like clarity, see that you are on the right track for whatever it is for that moment. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that from the book?
Um, I was just looking at Lucas's comment, and I'm sure it's absolutely ridiculous. So thank you, Lucas. I'm not sure where this link is going to take me. So I'll check it out later. But he's telling us that he has a rabbit hole, and
Um,
it's probably something ridiculous or brown sandals and black socks or something like that. But
is there
um,
anything wrong with that?
no, 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 no. No, I definitely agree, and I like what you were saying before about the loop, the feedback. Oh, it's cute elephants, cool. About the feedback loop, and we call that the one of the loops that people have probably heard it referred to as is the confidence and competency loop, so that you do hopefully. All right, there we go. We're back in there. But the more you do it, the more confident you get, and then you get more confident about it, and then you do it again, and you get more confident, and you do it again, and you keep going around and around and around. So it's a similar feedback loop to what you were saying. Now, real quick about feedback, I'm just curious. Now, Lawrence, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we find ourselves either getting distracted or getting off course or stumbling along the way because we didn't do it properly, the correct response is to beat ourselves up, speak ill of ourselves, and to throw in the towel and give up. Is that correct? Or am I off course on?
100%. Just be done with it. No, and it's funny because you said something that I think people misinterpret a lot is you said do something, it builds your confidence, so you do something, so it builds your confidence, so you do something, so it builds your confidence.
Mm-hmm,
A lot of times people think that I can't do this because I'm not confident enough.
mm-hmm,
And I think that's wrong. I think that it's because you don't do it, you're not confident enough.
mm-hmm,
And so, put all those things out of your mind that aren't action related. And remember,
mm-hmm,
an action is just an action. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just a way for you to calibrate. It's just a method of feedback so that you know what to do the next time.
mm-hmm.
So, no, don't beat yourself up. Don't throw in the towel. Don't give up. Don't sell the farm. Whatever it is. Welcome back next week for more cliches about this as well. But it gives you the opportunity to actually calibrate. And
Mm-hmm,
I think calibration is one of the things that if we pay attention to at a micro level, it can really help us. It's middle of the road. It's don't go
mm-hmm,
extreme and calibrate to the extreme because then you get lost again
mm-hmm,
in a system of calibration that has nothing to do with your actual action.
mm-hmm.
And so we want to use it only to help us continue to move forward.
Cool. All right. So if I can review what we've kind of talked about today, this little training exercise, Lawrence, is to get clarity on things, right? To remember to pause, take a breath, clear the monkey mind, clear all of the nonsense, get back to what we're doing, right? Be clear on what it is that we want, be clear on our goal. We talked about focusing on things to eliminate all the distractions. And we talked about not only taking action, but also calibrating if we find ourselves veering off course or maybe stumbling a little bit. Do you have anything else before we take that next step for us right now, Lawrence?
What's our next step?
It could be anything. We can discuss something funny, something, you know, whatever.
Yeah. I think the thing is that we have to remember that certainty exists inside of us.
Hmm.
So the moment that you find yourself looking external to see if you're certain about something, that should be a red flag. That should be the big light bulb going off saying, hey, wait a minute, let's take this inside and see what's going on. You know, if you're doing an activity or you're doing an action and you find yourself getting off down the wrong track, ask yourself, is that going outside of me, or is that something that I should still be doing? In Keller's book, The One Thing, he talks about doing an activity that if you do it correctly and you do it with um, unequivocal action for just that action, what
Hmm.
will it do so you don't have to do it tomorrow? Or because you did it today, you don't have to do that step tomorrow.
Hmm.
And that's about as far as you should go. You should never do that one action and think what's going to happen 6 months down the road. Because, like the weathermen, we have no idea what happens 2 days from now,
Hmm.
right? Otherwise, we live in that fake world of I think I know what the future holds. And we
Hmm.
don't want to get caught into that. That's why we want to stay internal. And somebody who is the king of internal, I just saw his name pop up, Gary, hashtag Austin.
The monk.
So howdy,
The
howdy.
monk is in the building.
And I think that's an important thing to always remember is to keep these things internal.
Hmm.
If you keep those things internal, then you can't be uncertain about what's going on outside of you
Hmm.
because you are who you are and you need to make sure that you stay with that. Cool.
All right. Lawrence, what
Does
do you
anybody,
have? What's that?
does anybody have any questions about anything?
Oh, yeah. Does anyone have any questions about anything? Anyone have any questions for Lawrence? Does anyone want to talk about how extremely insightful Lawrence is, along with having the best hair in Austin, Texas? He's a very smart guy.
Yeah, I just got to cut. Thought you should.
Ah, cool, cool, cool. So, yeah, does anyone have any questions for Lawrence before we wrap up this discussion on creating certainty in an uncertain world?
I was going to
Gary
go for
said,
the YouTube Terry, but I have a really ugly head. So I got to keep
eh,
the hair.
wait a couple years.
Wait a couple years. I'm 54. How many more years I got to wait?
Al Lucas is saying, didn't know you two were this insightful. Well, we aim to please. A lot of what we discussed at your event in Wisconsin, Lucas, was, we're just off the cuff. We weren't really, that insightful, but glad we landed a couple hits here today. But I don't know if Gary has a question. I saw him say 1 minute. Maybe he walked away or something. But or
Or
maybe
maybe,
it's like maybe it's a long question.
or it's a question about a minute.
Mm. But in the meantime, Lawrence, what do you have going on in Austin right now? What can we look for? You writing any books? I know the Bankroll Your Mind fellas will be coming up soon, but that's down the road a little bit. So what do you got going on for us, Lawrence? I know you just rebranded your website, right? So give us the info on that.
LawrencePipkin.com. That's
Okay.
LAUNCE Pipkin.com. I'm also probably in the next week and a half, I'm going to be doing a challenge, teaching 3 steps to unlocking yes using
Hmm.
neural sales. So it's going to be a lot of NLP in selling. And the thing is, what I've realized over the years is that we all sell no matter what we're doing.
Hmm.
And what I'll be going over in my 4-day challenge is basically teaching people the language of their mind and the
Hmm.
language of the mind of their potential prospect, customer, client, so that they, by talking to you, you can better understand where they're coming from and
Hmm.
learn their language of their mind so that you can give them the proper ability to say yes or no to whatever it is that you're offering them.
Cool.
So it's less about beating people up for sales and understanding their needs from their perspective to help you get to where you need to be. So that's coming in probably about a week and a half. And then I've got a podcast is going to be coming down the road. It's called Wake the F Up Already. And it'll just be things about what we need to do to wake ourselves up to be the
Hmm.
better version of ourselves. So
Cool,
that's what.
cool, cool.
Okay.
All right, cool. So Gary did have a question in there.
Been
Uh,
thinking about your philosophy on the shadow and been revisiting those things in my life. What are some good ways to begin the process? Um, First of all, for those of you that don't know what the shadow is a part of your body, part of your mind, part of your spirit. It's probably more causal than it is subtle, but the manifestation of not paying attention to your shadow can be physical as well as mental as well as spiritual. So I like to think of the shadow as just an energy, just straight energy. And when we have a shadow that's not being utilized properly, that's not being recognized, that's not being exercised, then we're using energy that we could use for other things to hold that shadow down, to repress that shadow, to suppress it. And it continues to take more and more of that to hold it down. So by learning to exercise your shadow, you free up that energy to do better things with, to enhance your mind, your body, your spirit. So what are ways to begin the process? One of the ways is there's a 3-2-1 process where you can look at what's going on outside of you. So you can have a conversation with yourself, Gary. So if you're dealing with something that's a question in your mind that you feel is shadow related, have a question with or a conversation with yourself about it. So first person, you, just say it out loud what it is. Then project yourself to the other side of the conversation, second person, and respond to what it is that your concern is. Then take third person, get up, stand on the other side of the room, and watch the two of you have that conversation and get a third person perspective of it. The moment that you get that third person perspective, the first person then understands the issue that the second person understood. So it's a little 3-2-1 perspective. I find that's always helpful. It's the whole, I know Rich is getting tired of this example from me, but it's like asking a fish to
ah,
what?
describe water.
He can't describe water because he's in it. Okay. And a lot of times when we're deep in our shadow, we don't even recognize it. So whether that shadow is causing things to manifest like procrastination or feelings of aloneness or loneliness, or the inability to stay on a diet, that type of sabotage, not be able to go to the gym, not to be able to exercise. Those are all shadow issues. And if you can recognize them readily and accept them, then those things will go away. The second thing that I would do, Gary, is think about emotions as physical things. Just like we think of thoughts, they're actually physical things. We think it, we speak it, it becomes it, right? Sometimes if we just think it enough, it becomes it. So a thought is actually a physical manifestation of shadow, spirit, and mind. So I would encourage you when you're looking at shadow stuff to take those thoughts that you have and then reintroduce them in a different way. Reintroduce them in a way that gives you the opportunity to say, well, where is this going and what better avenue can I give it? Accept it. If you can create an emotional name out of it, then breathe in that emotion. Especially in this certainty in an uncertain world. If you find yourself getting anxious, I invite you to take that anxious into your body and ask yourself, where am I feeling that anxiousness? Is it in my head? Is it in my heart? Is it in my gut? And if you say it's in my gut, Then say, all right, on a scale of 1 to 10, how anxious am I? Give it a number. That number's an 8. Then I want you to just take a deep breath and say this out loud. Say, I 100% accept this anxiety into my body, from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. I acknowledge that it's there and I accept it. Anxiety is natural. Anxiety is normal. It's a part of being me. It's a part of being human. Breathe it in. Accept it. And after you've acknowledged it and you've really felt it, say, but now I'd like to make a change. I would like to do something different. I would like to feel joy. I'd like to feel love. I would like to feel control. I would like to feel another positive emotion, and breathe that in and say, where this anxiety won't serve me, it serves me no more. And I'm going to replace it with joy, love, whatever another positive emotion is. Breathe that into your body. Breathe it in. Fill it up from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, and then just breathe out that anxiety. Then check yourself out and ask yourself, all right, I remember I had an anxiety in my gut of about an 8. Think about it. What is anxiety? Is it still there? Is it now replaced? Has it gone from an 8 to a 4? Has it changed from anxiety to frustration? If it has, do it again. Do it until it's at a manageable level so that then you can be certain about who you really are. Is that 2 good exercises there?
Definitely. And Lucas hopped in with a response. You remember we talked about we did a little integral theory work when we were in Wisconsin, and he said that we had the exercise, the shadow exercise about writing things down on a piece of paper and then shredding them up, right?
Yeah.
So well remembered, Lucas. Thank you.
That's a good one. And it's all about getting it out of your head.
Sure.
It's about separating it from the chatter and the crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not crazy. What's going on here? Crazy. And the moment that you get it out and look at it, you're like, yeah, that was crazy. Let's get rid of it. Rich, you always say something magical happens when you write something down.
Uh-huh.
And it's magical because it's moving from that place in our mind that creates all of these fantastical stories
Mm-hmm.
to something that we can really look at objectively and say, well, okay, that really doesn't make too much sense. And then we can ball it up and throw it away.
Right on. That's awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. Anybody else have any questions for Lawrence before we wrap it up? And once again, I will put it in the bio area, the comment area, but Lawrence's website is lawrencepipkin.com. Definitely check him out there. I know you got a free grabber as well. So make sure when you go onto his website, lawrencepipkin.com, you sign up for all the good stuff that Lawrence has, and more news on his 4-day challenge as well as his upcoming podcast a little bit later on down the road. But hey, Gary Melville, thank you, sir, and shout out to Gary. We're gonna get up on that. We're gonna reschedule that our chat, my man. So definitely get you in the spotlight as well. Anyone have any other questions for Lawrence before we sign off?
That was you. Well, I want to say thank you to Rich and this amazing community that you are building, the 10-Minute Mentor podcast. Rich is doing awesome stuff, and if you're not taking advantage of his expertise, you really need to do that. He has some of his own programs as well that are amazing, and you guys have a resource in your back pocket that you need to be utilizing to help you create the dreams and the realities that you see inside. Rich is the guy to do that. So thank you, Rich, for providing this platform so that people can feel safe and feel capable,
Mm-hmm.
and you hold them capable to be able to express themselves and be.
just blanked out, but absolutely. I
People,
just,
everybody can be the best that they can be, and
uh,
that's something to be applauded and to be appreciated. So thank you, Rich.
definitely, definitely. So, if nobody has any questions for Lawrence, and for those real quick as well, for those that are watching this on the replay, in the event that you're watching this in an hour or tomorrow or even next week, if you have a question for Lawrence, then drop your question in the comments area. Just because you missed the live video of this, Lawrence is here. He's in our group. He's one of my best friends, but no, wow, just drop that.
That's called instant karma.
I know, right? That's what I get. That's what I get for talking smack. No, but for anyone that's watching the replay of this, if you have any questions for Lawrence, drop your question in the comments box and make sure you tag either him or tag me so that we see it. And then Lawrence will address it. Like I said, whether it's an hour from now, whether it's a day from now, a week from now, whatever. If you are watching this episode and you have a question for Lawrence, drop it in the comment box and we will get to it. That's why we leave these videos in the feed, in the timeline. We also have a separate area in this group just for all the videos. So feel free to jump around there. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comment box and Lawrence will address it later on down the road. All right?
So just hit us a hashtag replay so we know that you watched it, and
Mm-hmm.
reach out to me so we can connect and I can hear all the amazing things that are going on in your world as well.
Awesome. So, Lawrence, have a fantastic Thursday, brother. I do appreciate your time being here. Want to give another shout out to Gary for hopping in, for adding some commentary, asking some questions. We had Lucas that hopped in with some questions and some commentary. Thank you both. I see Joe's in here. I see Lenny's in here. We had Francesca in here before. Oksana was in here before. Art was in here before. Big shout out to them. Um, there was maybe one or two more, but I'm drawing a blank on that. But I do want to thank everybody for watching this, for tuning in, whether you're watching it in real time or watching the replay. Once again, Lawrence, thank you for your kind words, for sharing your expertise with us. And I look forward to having you on again. And I look forward to hanging out with you and sharing a drink very soon, my friend.
I hope so. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Rich.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.